Everything begins in the mind because your thoughts are the foundation of your reality. Every dream, every failure, every success first existed as an idea, a belief, a thought that took root in your consciousness. The truth is, your external world is nothing more than a reflection of your internal world. What you constantly think about, you eventually bring into your life. If your thoughts are filled with fear, doubt, and negativity, your actions will follow the same path. But if your mind is anchored in confidence, belief, and purpose, your life starts to align with those higher frequencies. The way you think determines how you feel, and how you feel determines what you do, and what you do determines who you become. It's all connected. Your thoughts are the seeds that grow into the results you experience every single day. Most people don't realize how powerful their thoughts truly are. They believe their circumstances are what shape their mindset, but it's the opposite. Your mindset shapes your circumstances. The mind doesn't just react to reality, it creates it. When you wake up thinking you're not enough, you move through your day with hesitation, fear, and self-doubt. You start to miss opportunities, misread situations, and attract more of what you don't want because your energy is trapped in limitation. But when you wake up thinking that you're capable, deserving, and unstoppable, everything changes. Your posture changes, your decisions change, your energy draws different people and situations toward you. That's not coincidence, that's the law of the mind in action. Your thoughts are frequencies, constantly transmitting messages into the world. If you think success, you start to behave in ways that attract success. If you think failure, you unconsciously sabotage yourself. You begin to speak differently, act differently, and even see the world differently, depending on the thoughts you entertain most often. That's why changing your life isn't about changing your environment first. It's about changing your inner narrative. When you replace "I can't" with "I will," your actions shift to match your new belief. When you start thinking like the person you want to become, your habits begin to align with that identity until eventually, it's no longer just a thought, it's your reality. Everything you want in life, peace, confidence, success, purpose, starts with mastering your thoughts. You are the architect of your reality, and your mind is the blueprint. The world will always mirror the state of your thoughts. So the moment you start thinking higher, believing stronger, and visualizing greater, your life has no choice but to follow that direction. The biggest prison most people live in is not made of walls or bars. It's made of their own limiting beliefs. These beliefs are the invisible chains that keep you from becoming who you're truly meant to be. They whisper lies that sound like truth. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. People like me don't succeed. These thoughts become the walls that separate you from your potential. You begin to live within those limits, never realizing that the door has always been open. The problem isn't that you can't move forward, it's that your mind has convinced you that you can't. The beliefs you accept create the boundaries of your life, and until you challenge them, you'll continue to live inside a mental box that you built yourself. Most of those limiting beliefs don't even belong to you. They were planted in your mind by other people, by fear, by failure, by rejection, by the opinions of those who never saw your potential. Somewhere along the way, you started believing their version of your story instead of writing your own. You started to let doubt speak louder than your dreams. But every great transformation begins with realizing that those beliefs are not facts. They are assumptions, patterns, and fears that can be rewritten. The mind believes what you tell it most often, and if you feed it limitations long enough, it will begin to accept them as your identity. To change your life, you must first confront those false truths and replace them with empowering ones. Breaking free from limiting beliefs isn't about pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about refusing to let them define you. You can acknowledge your fear without surrendering to it. You can feel uncertainty and still choose courage. When you stop letting your past dictate your future, you reclaim your power. Every time you push against the edges of your comfort zone, you prove to your mind that you're capable of more. The chains begin to weaken, the walls begin to fall, and a new level of confidence begins to rise within you. The moment you stop saying, "I can't," and start asking, "How can I?" you open yourself to new possibilities. Life will always reflect the limits of your belief. The higher you raise those limits, the further you can go. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is not talent or luck, it's the willingness to believe something greater about themselves, even when the world tells them otherwise. What you focus on, you feed energy to, and what you feed energy to grows. The power of positive focus is one of the greatest tools a person can ever master because your attention determines your direction. The mind is like a magnet, it attracts more of what it continuously dwells on. If you constantly think about problems, you'll find more of them. If you think about possibilities, you'll begin to see doors where others see walls. The truth is, life doesn't always change immediately, but your focus can change in a moment, and that shift has the power to transform everything that follows. When you train your mind to look for lessons instead of losses, to see growth instead of pain, you begin to step into a new level of awareness where positivity isn't denial, it's discipline. Positive focus isn't about ignoring reality, it's about choosing where to direct your mental energy. You can either spend your time replaying what went wrong or preparing for what could go right. The person who focuses on fear will always find reasons to stay stuck, while the person who focuses on faith finds ways to move forward no matter what. Every successful person understands that focus is currency. Where you invest it determines what kind of return you'll receive. When you focus on gratitude, you start attracting more moments to be grateful for. When you focus on progress, you start noticing small wins that push you toward bigger victories. Your mind becomes a filter, tuning out negativity and amplifying possibility. The challenge is that your mind will always try to drift toward what's familiar, and negativity is often the easiest route. That's why positive focus requires intentional effort. It's about catching those negative thoughts before they spiral, reframing them, and asking yourself, what is this teaching me? Every time you choose to redirect your focus towards something empowering, you're rewiring your brain to expect better outcomes. This creates momentum, confidence, and clarity. Over time, positivity becomes your default setting, not because life is perfect, but because you've trained yourself to see opportunity even in imperfection. When you master your focus, you master your reality. The more you fix your mind on what you want instead of what you fear, the more aligned your actions become with your vision. Energy flows where attention goes, and the more consistently you focus on growth, peace, and purpose, the faster your external world begins to mirror that internal mind. Said life will always throw challenges your way, and no matter how well you plan, there will be moments that test your patience. Your strength and your belief. You can't always control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. That's where true power lies, not in changing the circumstances, but in mastering your reaction to them. Two people can go through the exact same situation and come out with completely different results, not because one was luckier, but because one chose a stronger mindset. When something goes wrong, most people fall into frustration, fear, or self-pity. But those who rise above it understand that pain can either be a prison or a teacher depending on how you respond to it. Your mindset determines whether you see an obstacle or an opportunity. When you face failure, your first instinct might be to give up. But when your mind is trained to respond with growth, you start to see failure as feedback, not finality. You begin to ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger because of this? That simple shift in response changes everything. Life isn't about what happens to you. It's about what happens within you when it does. The external world will always be unpredictable, but your inner world can remain steady when it's built on resilience, gratitude, and perspective. The moment you stop letting circumstances control your emotions, you reclaim your personal power. Every successful person you admire has mastered the art of response. They've faced rejection, setbacks, and disappointment, yet instead of letting those experiences break them, they use them as fuel. That's the difference between a victim and a victor, the mindset. When you decide that nothing external can define your worth or dictate your direction, you start living from a place of strength instead of reaction. You begin to move with purpose rather than emotion, with clarity instead of chaos. Life becomes less about surviving the storm and more about learning how to dance in the rain. Control doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means managing them in a way that serves you. It's choosing to breathe instead of panic, to think instead of react, to grow instead of retreat. Every challenge you face is an invitation to rise higher, to refine your character, and to prove to yourself that you're stronger than any circumstance. When your mindset becomes your shield, no external storm can break the peace you've built within. Changing your mind is not a one-time decision. It's a continuous process that requires discipline, consistency, and vision. The truth is, transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens daily, in the small moments when you choose to think differently, act differently, and stay committed even when it's uncomfortable. Discipline is what bridges the gap between who you are and who you want to become. It's the force that keeps you moving when motivation fades. Most people wait until they feel ready, but those who truly change their lives understand that action creates readiness. The more you train your mind to show up, to stay focused, and to push through resistance, the stronger that mindset becomes. Every day you practice self-control, you're not just changing a habit, you're reshaping your identity. Vision gives that discipline direction. Without vision, discipline feels like struggle, but when you have a clear picture of where you're going, every sacrifice becomes meaningful. You start to realize that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. A powerful vision gives your mind something to aim for, a reason to endure, a reason to rise early, a reason to stay consistent even when no one is watching. It turns your goals into a mission, something bigger than comfort. When your vision is clear, distractions lose their power because you're anchored in purpose. The combination of discipline and vision transforms the way you think and live. It teaches you to act from purpose instead of emotion, to focus on progress instead of perfection. Every time you say no to temptation, no to procrastination, no to self-doubt, you're saying yes to the person you're becoming. You start to realize that mindset is built through repetition, through doing what you said you would do long after the feeling has passed. That's how mental strength grows, not through grand gestures, but through daily commitment to growth. As your discipline sharpens and your vision expands, your mind begins to shift permanently. You stop chasing temporary pleasure and start seeking lasting fulfillment. You no longer rely on external validation because your focus is internal transformation. Your thoughts align with your goals, your actions align with your beliefs, and your life aligns with your vision. The person you once were begins to fade, and a stronger, more focused version of you begins to rise. That's the essence of change. When discipline becomes your habit and vision becomes your compass, your entire life starts to move in the direction of greatness.